Welcome, wealth builders. In this course here, we're going to talk about tackling student loans. A lot of us have student loans on our welcome, wealth builders. Have student loans on our credit report, and we try to figure out how to consolidate your loans, how to refinance your loans, and actually how to remove them, actually how to get a lower payment. Student loans can be very detrimental to your credit, especially if they go into default. And sometimes it has an effect on if you're trying to purchase a home or not. Because your debt to ratio income, student loans account for like your debt to ratio income. And sometimes that matter depending on, usually when you're trying to buy a home or acquire a big purchase or whatnot. And your debt to ratio income means how much debt you're in compared to how much money that you make. The DTI, debt to income ratio. Lenders and more, that's what lenders and mortgage company use when they qualify you for a home. So usually that's the only thing that student loan really plays into account if they're in good standing. Now, if they're at default, you have delinquencies, you might have late payments on them, and this will hurt your credit score. I've seen cases where a person can have a 700 and we'll say a 720 credit score. Soon as they forget the student loan department calling them, they're ignoring the phone calls, they're trying to avoid them. Soon as they slap that late payment on your credit score, I have seen credit score drop from like a 720 to like a 580. 200 points just by not taking care of their obligations to take care of their student loans. This happens a lot. And what makes it so bad is because most student loans accounts are like, you may have 8 to 20 different accounts with different amounts on them, whether it's Department of Education, Sallie Mae, Navient. If you got a private student loans are when you actually go to a bank, they're private student loans. Like say if you have a relationship with your bank and you took out a student loan through your bank, that is considered a private student loan. And all of them will, if they're not paid on time, they will hurt your credit report. So let's talk about how to tackle your student loan problems. If you want to consolidate your student loans, this means that you will actually contact the U.S. Department of Education, and you will ask them, do you qualify to have your loan consolidated? When you consolidate your student loans, you're basically combining all your loans into one for a certain type of payment. You can qualify for like one payment. This works a lot, and this keeps from paying like multiple accounts. You just put all your account into one. Basically, you just consolidate your debt and making it all one, and paying some type of monthly fee for your credit debt. I mean, for your student loan debt. This can be good and bad. This can be good and bad. Sometimes it may help you, but sometimes it may not have as a huge effect than what you're thinking. So before you consolidate your debt, you want to ask yourself a couple questions. What are you trying to do? Are you trying to lower your monthly payment, or are you trying to stretch your payments out over time? You're trying to get a lower interest rate. You want to also ask yourself like what the interest rate is going to be. And some of the stuff that you want to write down. some of the student loans that you when you want to consolidate, I mean, you want to ask yourself, is it okay if I pay them off? If your loans are almost paid off, and say you have a few $1,000 in student loan and you're within a few years of paying them back, there's really no reason to consolidate your student loans. Like, there's no reason to consolidate them if you're almost paying them off. I would suggest, like, if you just got out of school and you have you have multiple accounts on your credit report, you should consolidate. I don't say you should, but you could consider consolidate your student loans. Private student loans cannot be consolidated with your federal student loans. If you go to a bank, a particular private institution like Sallie Mae, they will not consolidate your student loans. They will, however they're listed on your credit report, you have to pay those individual accounts. However, though, those companies do offer private loan consolidation. A private loan consolidation can be made into one single payment. Can be made into one single loan with a lower monthly payment. Just remember, the whole goal of consolidating your loans is to get a lower monthly payment. So we went over the how to consolidate your student loans. So basically, a recap of this portion here: you want to call the U.S. Department of Education or whoever that you got your loan with and ask them that you want to consolidate your student loans. They're going to combine all your student loans and give you a one-time payment. It depends on if you're trying to pay your student loans off in a short amount of time, your payment is going to be a lot higher. If you're trying to make small payments, your monthly payments is going to be extended over a longer period of time, but you will have a lower monthly payment. And it just depends on actually how much money you make at the time and what you can afford. It depends on, do you want your student loans consolidated or not. Also too, it depends on your credit score. You can only, it depends on what type of credit score you got. Can you consolidate your loans? Because basically, when you lenders actually just take account of your credit report to see if you qualify for the consolidation loan, and it just depends on, like I said, it just depends on what institution has provided your loan for you. When you consolidate your student loans too, you can do something called an income-based repayment, and you can just pay as you earn. This means that you can make certain payments based off the amount of money that you make. The income-based repayment plan, it depends on how much money you make, and they base your payment off of that. So if you try and consolidate your student loan, like I said, you want to make sure that you check with the actual person that you got the loan from, like I said, with the U.S. Department of Education and Sallie Mae or whatnot, or whoever you got it with, you check with them to make sure that you qualify for something, that you qualify for the consolidation. Remember, if you only owe a couple of $1,000s and you're within 2 years, do not consolidate your loan, because it's not gonna do anything for you. And it actually could it can actually have you spend more money. And the only thing to me consolidation does is it just helps you manage your debt. It just helps you manage your debt more easily. All right, let's talk about refinancing your student loans. You can refinance your student loans just like you can refinance a car. This is based off your actual credit. If you refinance your student loans, so right now, even if your payments are deferred, you are still paying interest. That's why every month when you see something say your student loan increased by such and such amount, that is your interest rate. every month on top of your loan. I'm telling you, that stuff adds up. See, if you got 50K in student loans and you got an interest rate of say like 3% or something like that, you 90,000 times 3% every month, that stuff adds up. That's why it's important to, I would suggest, if you have a lot of student loans and you got a good credit score, I would suggest refinancing your student loans. Because if your credit score is at least between I think like a 650, if you have at least a minimum of a 650 credit score, you definitely should refinance your loans. This can help your monthly payment drop too. Say if just say if you was paying, $400 a month for your student loans, and you qualify to get if you qualify to get your interest rate refinanced, just say you're 4%. Take this scenario. If you had, just say, $60,000 in loans, you had 10 years to pay off you had 10 years to left on repayment, and you got an interest rate of, we'll just say 7%. Your monthly payment will be around, we'll say 10%. We'll use even numbers. You owe 60,000 student loans. Your interest rate is, we'll just say 10%. Your payment would be probably around $600. Say if you refinance your student loans and your interest rate drop from 10 to 5, that $600 can drop down to $300 or $400. This while you're refinancing too, it can extend. It only way it does extend your long term, but it drops your payment down. So it's kind of like a catch-22. So like I said, you got 10 years left to pay on it, but you can't afford a monthly payment on it. You can refinance it to drop your payment, but you will be paying on it for a longer period of time. So instead of you paying it for 10 years, you may pay on it for an additional 5 more years, say 15 years, but your payment is lower, and that'll save you up money every month. So you went from paying $600 a month to $325 a month just because you refinance your loans. But instead of you paying it for 10 years, now you owe additional 15 years. That's what refinancing does. They just recalculate your loan. They may add like an additional years on it. So you gotta ask yourself, do you want to pay off your student loans quicker, or you want to save money every month? And that's this question that you want to ask yourself depending on your finances. I want to make sure I covered everything on the refinancing side. So we talked about consolidating your student loans. We talked about refinancing your student loans. And it all just depends on your actual income at the time. Can you afford to consolidate? Is your credit score good to refinance your loans? Or if you consolidate them, does it make sense for you to consolidate your student loans? And we just talked about that. Yeah, let's talk about getting a lower payment. I just kind of got ahead a little bit, but I just discussed about refinancing your loans to get a lower payment. You need a 650 credit score at least a 650 credit score to refinance your loans. Also, you can get your loan dropped based off of income redressment plan. This here depends on how much money that you make. And you want to see, do you qualify for that? So to qualify for an income redressment plan, you can actually contact the person who you have the loans with and ask them, do you qualify? They're going to ask you for a certain amount of questions, and they're going to ask you for your W-2 form to submit your W-2 form for the previous year. I suggest people to never get your student loans in default. And if you just have to pay anything, pay something every month, just to keep them from just to keep them from putting your loans in default. Because once they're in default, sometimes they're very hard to come up. But we're gonna talk about, you know, certain tips and tricks on how to get your payment lowered and how to actually remove student loans from your credit report. So remember, like just write down all your and also too, it depends on there's some companies who offer like lower, some companies that don't offer student loan refinancing, some companies do. So you just have to check with different companies who offers refinancing, offer the refinancing. And when you do that too, sometimes you give up certain kind of the difference between private lenders, which means your bank or institution, anybody outside of the U.S. Department of Education. The U.S. Department of Education offers certain type of securities on your student loans. Say if you lose your job or something happens, some private student loans, they will not give you a certain type of insurance to say, hey, let's stop this person payment and stop them from collecting because they lost their job. Student loan department, they will allow you, if you lose your job or something while you're paying student loans, to keep this from hitting negative information or credit report. They will stop. If you can prove that you're ill and that you lost your job, they'll put a stop to them collecting payments on your student loans. Some private lenders don't offer that too. So make sure if you do decide to refinance or consolidate your loans, that they offer you some type of security in case you lose your job, in case you become ill, so that these things doesn't affect you in the time that you can't repay these loans. And this just all comes down to who you got your student loans through. Hold on, make sure we cover everything. So we talked about how to lower your payment, consolidating. We're gonna talk about how to remove student loans. I'm not gonna say how to remove them, but with the LCRA law, there are mistakes. There are mistakes when you can get student loans off your credit report. If you have an amount that's incorrect, or if the date is wrong or anything like that, you can dispute those items. There have been cases where people have got negative items, negative incorrect loan accounts removed off their credit report. Let's take a look at an actual credit report to show you the things, how you can get these things removed off your credit report. So let's take a look at this. This is a person's account. So this is a consolidated student loan. This $94,800. This is someone that got their student loans consolidated. You see all these accounts right here say closed, 2,000. All these closed accounts that has a balance on there, this is someone that had their loans consolidated. That means all these little amounts, they consolidated into one. So if your loans are consolidated, your student loan accounts are going to look like this. You're going to have multiple accounts that just has a closed status on there. Say if one of these closed status has late payments or something on there, you can get these removed. So what you want to do is, if your loans are consolidated like this and you have 20 or 30 closed accounts, dispute those items. Get them removed off your credit report. Because sometimes if you have late payments on them or you was late on some of them, this can have a negative effect on your credit report. A lot of people don't know that. So actually go through your credit report and look and see at every closed account to make sure you want to make sure it says 100% paid. If it says 95 or missed payments on it, put them on it. Go to the actual credit dispute letter on your student loans and put this information in there. They will remove these closed accounts off your student loan. They will remove these closed accounts off your credit report. And I highly suggest that you do that. especially if you have a lot of late payments on them. All these closed accounts, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, they're no longer valid to you anymore. So you want those off your credit report. People ask me, can you consolidate student loans? If the amount is incorrect, yes, you can. If this amount here is incorrect, you can dispute your student loans and make them verify that this is the actual right account, that this student loan is actual correct information. If you feel it's inaccurate, dispute it. It's up to them to verify that this account belongs to you. If your loans are not consolidated, they're going to be like this. You're not going to see one total payment. You're going to see stuff like this on your credit report. They're just going it might not say closed. It's just going to have listed accounts. So instead of it saying $0, it's going to say $2,000. This one here is going to say $3,500 instead of it saying closed. So this is the difference between consolidated. You have one total large payment that you're paying on. And this helps for you to lower your monthly payment if you're trying to refinance it, or if you're just trying to, get it removed or whatnot. When counts are like this and they're from different places, if they're inaccurate, dispute them. If the amount is inaccurate, the dates are off or anything like that, the repayment term amount, you can dispute these off your credit report. So actually go to your credit report and remove all the closed accounts off your credit report. Anybody got any question? I'm looking at the chat box. So I want to make sure, ask to you guys, do you understand, the different topics that we talked about as far as your student loan goes? Talked about consolidation, refinancing, about refinancing your student loans, and actually how to get a lower payment. Remember, refinancing is based off your credit. It's all based off your credit. This helps you lower your monthly payments. Because some of us never look at the interest rate on our loans, and that stuff rolls over every month. If you carry over your balance to your student loans, they roll over every month. Even if you have your credit, even if you have your student loans in forbearance or deferment, or you're on an income redriven plan, you have it occurs interest every month. And depending on what the interest rate is, it could be you're carrying an extra $300-400 a month. Like I said, that stuff adds up. So if your credit score is if you have less than a couple of years to pay on your credit report, I wouldn't suggest you refinance because it's going to make you pay it out for a long period of time. But if you just started paying your student loans back and you got 20 years to pay them back or whatnot, and your credit score is decent, refinance your student loans to get a lower payment. That'll help you save money overall every month. Does anybody have any questions about anything dealing with your student loans that I can answer for you? Okay, how do I get them out of default? You can get your student loans out of default just by actually contacting. So say if you do miss a payment on your student loans and they go negative, you can actually call wherever you got your student loan with, use Department of Education, and ask them to see that you qualify for an income redriven plan. If they grant you that particular circumstance, they will go back and update your late payments and update your information to current. So if you are in default if you're not trying to dispute those off your credit report, contact the whoever you got those student loans to see that you qualify for an income-driven payment plan. What they'll do is they'll backdate your late payments and bring them up to current, so it will take you out of default. Whether if you want to do a forbearance or a deferment or whatnot, they will take those late payments off and update your current. They will update your stuff. So make sure that you never in default on your student loans. And if you do, just contact them and see that you qualify for a deferment, a forbearance, or income redriven payment plan. I want to see if anybody else got any questions. Okay, since we don't have any questions, leave some comments or anything that I didn't cover, and we will go over them on the next session. On our next session, we're going to talk about, by now, you should be getting some information back from the previous disputed letters that you sent out. So if something came back verified, we're going to send them a second letter. We're going to send them a second letter to show if they didn't see, we're going to basically tackle verified letters on the next session.